Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen sister keeps having babies she can't afford. After that, it's really a bad idea to make a government employee angry. And after that, am I the jerk for sticking to the late policy even though the student has ADHD? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to have any babies she can't afford to. Why would I want to have a baby with you, Reddit boy? His head would probably be even bigger than yours. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen sister keeps having babies that she can't afford. I'm 27, female, and my sister, who's 29, never wanted to get married. She just doesn't like the marriage thing. Nothing wrong with that. But she still wanted to have kids, so she had a baby with her long-term boyfriend. Well, her boyfriend doesn't do anything to help her. He doesn't work. He gets disability. His issue has long since resolved, but he still collects somehow. So he pays for some bills, but not much. He doesn't help with housework, and he barely helps her with their now 1.5-year-old. He just plays video games all day. I've seen it when I come over to babysit. My sister works from home, so she will be on a wireless headset having a conference call with the baby on her hip while she's cleaning the kitchen, and her boyfriend will be playing video games in the living room. And that's the situation every time I come over, and my sister tells me that that's what it's always like. I work full-time as a nurse, so I come over to help when I can, but I also work third shift, and my sister lives almost 2 hours away, so it's hard for me to help a lot. She's gotten mad at me several times for not helping babysit enough. I had a 2-week vacation last winter, and she got mad at me for not babysitting a whole lot while I was on vacation. I want to help out because I love her and my niece, but I work a lot too, and the drive is long, and I'm just tired a lot. Well, 2 weeks ago we were talking, and she told me that she and her boyfriend were going to try for another baby soon. Oh no. We're going to try for another baby soon, and if things work out, they were hoping to have another baby by next Thanksgiving. I said to her, "Are you sure it's a good idea to have a second baby when your boyfriend barely helps you with the first one?" It just blurted out of my mouth. She got all defensive and tried to tell me that he does help some, but I reminded her that she tells me all the time how he doesn't help, and I've seen for myself how he just plays video games while she does everything. She got really mad and said, "Well, maybe if you helped more, then it wouldn't seem like everything is on my shoulders." After some back and forth arguing, I got up and left. She told our mom what I said, and our mom got all mad at me, saying I was a jerk for upsetting my sister, and my brother got on to me about it too. I don't think I was a jerk though. I'm not so sure at this point. We live in a world where when you state the obvious, people get upset with you about it. Not the jerk. Generally, my stance is that only the people having the kids get to decide if and when to procreate. But since she feels entitled to your time and effort as a babysitter as part of her childcare plans, you get to put in your 2 cents. Reach back out and say, "I'm sorry that I did not react well to your plans for another baby. That's a decision between you and your boyfriend, and I should not have provided unsolicited advice. However, I want to make clear that if my participation as a babysitter for your kids is being factored into your decision, consider this fair warning that I will not babysit for you again if you have a second kid. Whether or not you have kids is your choice, whether or not I help care for them is mine. I will be present in your kids' lives if you want me to be, but not in a caregiving role." Not the jerk. How does she have more anger reserved for you, who lives 2 hours away, than for her deadbeat boyfriend? You need to take yourself completely out of the picture. Do not help this ungrateful person with anything anymore, and just ignore these tantrums. Maybe if you helped her more, then it wouldn't seem like everything is on her shoulders? Tough love time. It's supposed to be on your shoulders, you and your partner, not mine. You will be taking care of your kid by yourself from here on out. Then if you want another baby, knock yourself out. Not the jerk, and immediately stop supporting her. She's using you, and she's not going to get it unless she figures it out for herself. It's a mercy to her for you to stop providing for her. She needs to learn. You're the jerk. This isn't your call, but you don't have to be an enabler either. You've created a scenario where the true impact of her decisions, having a baby and dealing with a useless boyfriend, really had low consequences because you were always there. Stop it. Apologize and say it really isn't your call and you were wrong to weigh in and be judgmental. From now on, be very busy with your life and see your niece occasionally. Your sister needs to see how her life really is rather than the way that you've made it for her. Remember, no more babysitting. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her sister? Please let us know. Never stay with a deadbeat, and definitely don't have kids with them. It really is a bad idea to make a government employee angry. This one is a double government employee event, and what you should know is that if you get the attention of a government employee and make them angry, that they will make your life miserable. The setup is that I was working for a local county government in the permitting department that handled drainage and floodplain enforcement. I received a complaint from a homeowner, a nice guy, lived next door to a house that was part of an incorporated village, not a nice guy. Nice guy lived in an unincorporated portion of the county, and hence the call to me as an agent of the county. I drove out to the site and to investigate, and I discovered some interesting facts. The permitting agent for the village allowed the incorporated homeowner to fill his lot, affecting the drainage, which caused the unincorporated lot to flood every time there was anything more than a little rain. Nice guy indicated that there was some tension between him and the not nice guy, and part of the issue was that nice guy and his partner were a gay couple. This ran up a red flag for me, but in trying to be impartial, I took the information and some photos for the file and indicated that I would contact the village to find a resolution. I wrote a letter and then called the village inspector, Jack Wagon, to discuss. I was told by Jack Wagon that the village could do as it pleased and that I could do nothing to stop not nice guy from doing as they pleased, as it was approved by the village. There was then a comment about the type of people making complaints just to cause trouble. I was now on the case, and it was time to make sure everything done on the incorporated lot was 100% legal. At this point, the game certainly was now on, because if there's one thing that grinds my gears, it's bullying. I went back out and spoke to Nice Guy to let them know what I was up to, and also that I was not going to let this slide. I then started investigating the elevations on the two lots and what fill had been placed on the incorporated lot. The not nice guy came out and started getting belligerent about my presence and ongoing investigation. He incorrectly stated that I did not have jurisdiction over his lot and that he would be calling the police. I patiently listened and then pulled out my two-way radio and requested that the home base dispatch both a village and a county police unit to the location. I then indicated that since there was a regulatory floodplain on his lot, I did in fact have jurisdiction and that I would be exercising my right to determine the impact of his fill activities upon that floodplain. Both of the police units showed up and I let them know what was going on. They were both appropriately agitated to have to waste their time and let not nice guy know that I was within my authority to proceed with the investigation. A little while later, while I was measuring things, Jack Wagon showed up. He started berating me about harassing the villager resident and threatening calling my boss and filing a complaint and so forth. I invited him to do so, quoting which parts of the code he should indicate I was violating. I was using marking point to show the limits of the floodplain for the photos for the file, and what do you know, Jack Wagon's shoe got painted when he tried to stop me. Obviously, he was even more angry, as was the homeowner, due to very bright orange paint in the grass in his yard. I pointed out I had done the same on the neighbors' lots, but they just kept complaining. It was actually marking chalk that comes off pretty easily. Interestingly, I found two really wrong things on Not Nice Guy's lot. 1. There was fill placed in the floodplain, and 2. A garden shed was built on the fill and partially within the floodplain. Both are a big no-no and are actually against federal law. So the course of action had 2 parts. 1. Make the incorporated homeowner remove the fill and shed from the floodplain. And 2. Let Nice Guy place fill in their lot outside of the floodplain to counteract the fill remaining in Not Nice Guy's lot outside of the floodplain. I also told Nice Guy it would be a good idea to run a field tile on their side to drain the water that would inevitably pond up between the 2 lots when it rained. Predictably, Not Nice Guy and Jack Wagon got super angry when I sent the letter out that there were violations that either had to be corrected, remove the fill in the shed, or apply a revision of the floodplain with the Army Corps of Engineers. Good luck with that. This then led to a meeting at the county office with Not Nice Guy, Jack Wagon, my supervisor, and myself. Quickly, things went to 11, and there was yelling by Jack Wagon about abuse of power, etc. The department head came into the conference room and told them both they were wrong and that they should leave peacefully and comply or face the consequences, the fines. The best part was that Not Nice Guy had to apply for a permit, and guess who was the one to review and approve it? That's right, yours truly. Now, I was following the letter of the law, but you have to know that poor government workers are underpaid and overworked. Strangely, the permit for Nice Guy was almost immediately approved, while Not Nice Guy had to have a very thorough review to ensure it was correct. You could make a case I was abusing my power, but I can assure you that the timing for their review was well within acceptable limits. Also, how could I be held to account that they misfiled 3 times before they finally got it right? Generally, if you behaved like a civil human and came to the office, we would help you get things done properly so the permit would go through first time. But Not Nice Guy decided he could do it all on his own, so it took him 3 times. Had he come to the office, I would have given him the same service as others, but he decided to take the hard route, and therefore I didn't give a single inch when it came to the submission being perfectly correct. Ultimately, the situation was resolved, but it took a lot more effort than it should have. Moral of the story, don't be an entitled jerk. Am I the jerk for sticking to the late policy even though the student has ADHD? Reddit. I'm a high school teacher in the US who has ADHD myself. I wasn't diagnosed until college and want to preface this by saying I'm not perfect. For example, I have lost students' papers before. The issue at hand happened in my 10th grade class where the kids are about 15 to 16. I've always taken off points for essays, projects, and homework assignments turned in late. I explained this on day 1 and put it in the syllabus. They lose 10% for each day it's late, but I never take off more than 50% as a late penalty. Usually, kids won't turn in major projects more than 1 to 2 days late. This year, I had a student with ADHD turn in an essay 6 weeks late. They did an excellent job, but I only gave them a 50% because of how late it was. The second essay counted for 30% of their grade for the quarter. However, the student's second essay lost 40% right off the bat for being 4 class days late. About 2 weeks had passed due to the fact my class doesn't meet every day, weekends, school holiday. This essay didn't do a good job like the first one, but it was a different style of writing. For the first essay, their excuse was that it was done, but they felt like they didn't put their all into it and they wanted it to be done right. It went above and beyond and was far longer than it needed to be. I explained I prefer they turn something in on time rather than exceed expectations, but turning it in 6 weeks late. The only explanation for the second essay was that they had it saved on a specific computer at home that they didn't have access to. Their previous English teacher never really had much of a penalty for late work. This student is typically an A student, but they finished the first quarter of my class with a 67 or a 68, and I bumped them up to a 69.5 because I pitied them and it would raise them to a C-. The student was argumentative about their grade and angry with me, saying it wasn't fair. In my defense, they could still earn an A for the course, but they would essentially have to maintain around a 95% average for the rest of the course, including the midterm and final exams. College is so expensive in the US, and I don't want to affect students' averages over an assignment being a few days late. But I also feel like I'm not truly preparing students for college, university, and the workforce by letting them turn in work when it's convenient with them without consequence. So, am I the jerk for sticking to my policy and not boosting her grade? Edit. People keep asking about IEPs and accommodation plans. I work at a private school that offers very little accommodations, and we have no special ed department. We do not offer extended time on long assignments, and we only chunk them into smaller, more manageable pieces. We only offer extended time for quizzes and tests. Despite parents being aware of ADHD, I realize this student has no file, so I will definitely be talking to the guidance counselor. Even though my school doesn't offer extended time, having an IEP on file for when the student goes to college will serve them well. Second edit. I also give class time. They usually get around 2 to 3 hours of class time to write, ask me questions, do peer revisions. Some of them waste their time by talking or going to their phones. I tell them I'm not going to get into arguments if they want to waste their time, but that I'm always there to provide any help and support while they work. Usually I have a constant line of kids asking for help, so I can't dedicate time to focus and observe this one specific student's work habits, because then I'd tell the other 3 kids all asking for help on their essays to hold on, and by that time the line of students asking for my help will possibly have increased to 5. Third edit. I did contact the parents after the first missing essay, and admin knows they got a C- due to late work. I tell students to talk to me before the due date to make arrangements on late work. I'm pretty lenient if we come up with a plan ahead of time. I tell them, don't tell me on the day that it's due unless it's something really serious. For example, a student recently failed a quiz. I followed up and the student broke down saying it was due to family problems at home. I let them complete corrections to raise their F to a C on that quiz. Fourth edit. Yes, I've spoken to the student. I reminded them in person and by email, but they would ignore me or say, I'll do it. After the second essay was 2 to 3 days late, I finally forced them to discuss this in more detail, where I explained the policy, why I have it, how it affects their grade. They seemed pretty receptive until I pulled them aside the following week to discuss why they had only earned a C- for the first quarter. They thought it would all balance out because they got A's on the quizzes and were quite upset with me when that didn't happen. Parents were already informed after the first missing essay, but we have a parent-teacher conference scheduled. Not the jerk. We aren't talking about a class period or two. We're talking about 6 weeks the first time and 4 weeks the second. ADHD is fairly common. Lots of kids with ADHD manage to get their assignments in on time or only a little late. But 6 weeks? No. There's accommodation and then there's no accountability. What's the point of a deadline if you don't actually adhere to it? OP. The second time was only 4 class periods late, but about 2 weeks had passed within that time. Not the jerk. As someone who grew up with a few undiagnosed issues, one of which includes a matter of executive dysfunction, I'm well aware what it's like to struggle with deadlines. Schedules are an integral part of living in a society, and learning how to work with them is probably one of the most important things a student might learn. If this hasn't come up before, their counselor needs to have a talk with them about the importance of being timely with their work. ADHD might be a reason, but it's not an out. As an educator, info. What the heck are you doing asking Reddit about this and not your colleagues, administrators, or special education department? You aren't going to get good advice about how to educate asking 13-year-olds on the internet? OP. The student is a sophomore, and I already spoke to the parents and colleagues. Admin is aware as well. I work at a private school. We don't have a special ed department. We only handle students with basic IEPs, like extended quiz time. This still isn't the resource for actual advice that will be good for you. Go anywhere but here. OP. Understandable. Kinda wanted to hear what some lay people had to say. I've had plenty of coworkers who are all for late policies and will take off 50% for homework turned in 1 day late, or who won't accept assignments after 3 days. Then I've had coworkers who don't believe in late policies. I understand trying to get the layperson's thoughts, but in this case, you need to speak with other teachers. You're just going to get a bunch of different opinions on here. I'm more concerned that the student has ADHD and the school doesn't have the proper resources. If you want my opinion as a former educator, 6 weeks is too long. The student may have ADHD, but also needs to learn how to navigate due dates for when they enter the workforce. I'd work with the student to explain the policy and ask how you can support their learning and go from there. Some students truly need help building tools and resources, and some will give you excuses. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for sticking to the late policy or not? Please let us know. So teachers are now going on Reddit and asking if they should stick to late policies. I never thought our world would come to this, but it has. Am I the jerk for ordering takeout after my husband tricked me into cooking for his kids? So to give some context, I, female 35, have been married to my husband, male 37, for 6 months. He has 2 kids from 2 different, uninvolved mothers, and they live with us full-time. The kids are 7 and 10. I work long hours, and it's a demanding job time-wise. My husband thinks that just because I work from home, that I can pause whenever, but that's not true. He'd ask me to do things for the kids or him during work hours, but I told him I'm working and unavailable during those hours, and that the kids are his responsibility until I'm done. Yesterday, he told me he wanted to go attend a friend's engagement dinner and asked if I could take time off of work to make the kids dinner. I told him absolutely not and insisted that he cook for them or order takeout. He said he had no time to cook and takeout was off the table since he doesn't want them to eat fast food. He later said I'm fine and that he was going to cook dinner, then go to the party. 2 hours later, the kids come in and said that they were hungry. I was puzzled. I asked if their dad had cooked them dinner and they said he didn't. Moreover, he told them to come ask me to cook for them at exactly 7 p.m. I was so upset to find myself in this situation. I took a few minutes off the meeting and ordered takeout from the nearby restaurant and fed the kids, then had them watch TV, then go to sleep. He came home at 11 p.m. and went off on me after he discovered that I didn't cook like he was counting on me to do. Not only that, but he yelled about feeding the kids takeout. I argued back, saying I had no choice after he basically tricked me into cooking for them knowing I was busy. So I ordered food and made sure the kids were fed while I focused on work. He ranted about how I care more about work than my stepkids, God forbid, and called me selfish, then went upstairs and refused to talk to me. He's still sulking about it today and says I need to get my priorities in order because they're messed up. Info. About that friend's engagement. My husband has this friend from college. They're close and he couldn't miss the event. Moreover, he said he was upset with me for missing the event and now refusing to cook a homemade healthy meal and ordering takeout, knowing it's a no-go for him. Info: the reason I expected him to cook, other than the fact that I was busy, was that he usually cooks for them, so it's both of our responsibility. Info: does he work? Yes, but barely. He works at a warehouse only twice a week. His friend's dad owns the warehouse, and he does have a lot of leverage. Info: more context on the mothers. One is an ex-wife, the other is an ex-girlfriend. Both left for financial reasons, he said, but I'm not fully convinced by that. Oh heavens, I hope you're Googling divorce attorneys. Wait. He told you that you need to get your priorities in order when he left his kids unfed to attend a party? Why did you marry this man? So much not the jerk. Not the jerk, but you have bigger issues in your marriage than takeout. You married someone who does not respect your work or your time, is willing to let his kids go hungry in order to force your hand, and is now using emotional blackmail to punish you. This is a fundamentally broken approach to relationships, and it's honestly not hard to see why he doesn't have relationships with either of his kids' mothers. Bail out now. This man does not respect your needs, feelings, or boundaries. This relationship will consume you to the point where you no longer have a sense of self. Everything will be about his and the kids' needs. 1. He attempted to manipulate you into doing exactly what he wanted. 2. He got angry at you when his manipulation failed. 3. He's now gaslighting you into believing you're the bad guy for not falling for his manipulation. 4. He's now using the silent treatment to make you see things his way. This will only get worse. Save yourself and leave. File for divorce and move on to a happier existence. Sorry. Not the jerk. Why are you with this guy? He had 2 failed relationships. I think I can see why his past relationships have failed. He probably is with you just so his kids can have a stepmother. He doesn't see your work as work, so he thinks you can easily drop everything for the family. Why can't he grab a pot and pan and cook food? Cooking doesn't take 2 hours, so he easily could have made something or meal prepped in the time that he was arguing with you. Or maybe instead of going to his party, he could have stayed home to make sure his kids were fed. I don't see where he thinks he's right in all of this. Everyone sucks here. You shouldn't act this way towards your stepkids, which, by the way, the fact you call them my husband's kids told me everything I needed to know going into this, and he shouldn't deal with someone who doesn't care for his kids. Ma'am, you do not want to be a stepmother, but married a man with kids. He wants a woman to fill in the motherly role. With the adults playing childish games, only the kids will suffer. Time to evaluate if your goals are aligned and end it before you both cause lasting damage to them. Everyone sucks here. You're both jerks. You knew he had 2 kids before you married him, thus having to take some responsibility for them. I hope this argument wasn't in front of them. That's a good way to make them feel unwanted and a burden. You both need to be adults about this. I feel bad for the kids that are put second after a good time out and a job. Everyone sucks here except the kids. You sound like a workaholic. Workaholics shouldn't have kids or marry people who have kids. You should not have married a person with kids if you were not willing to occasionally be flexible as far as caring for them, especially just enough to take an hour or 2 and cook dinner and set them up with coloring books or a movie. They're 7 and 10, they aren't toddlers. Your husband sucks for leaving the kids with you unexpectedly and getting mad that you didn't do what he wanted you to do. Your husband also sucks for not making plans regarding this engagement dinner. I doubt he just found out about it yesterday. He's probably known for weeks or months. He should have asked when he found out about it so that you could have put an evening block on your schedule to spend some time with your stepkids. Or if you absolutely can't take a single second off of work ever, then he had plenty of time to arrange for a sitter and pull a meal out of the freezer or something that he had pre-prepped for the occasion. It doesn't sound like you even want them or want them around, so I can't fathom why your relationship with this guy progressed to marriage. If I was a single parent, I could not imagine marrying anyone who wasn't 100% on board with being a step-parent. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. He was a real jerk for all the shenanigans he pulled. I really do think they need to split up. I don't see this working long term. Double malicious compliance. I felt really bad about the first one, but definitely not the other. This was easily about 8 or 9 years ago. I was working in a call center. We sort of middleman between a selection of theme parks and hundreds of hotels that customers could book as a nice package holiday. Now, most people would call up the theme park, think they were talking to the location itself, but actually be talking with a bunch of part-timers in an office nowhere near. Depending which brand they called, we'd answer as that brand, and all in all, it was painless. There was a website, but we were there in case of special requirements. Sometimes people didn't want to book online, etc. Now, the parks we support are fairly popular, so much so people do fly in specifically to have holidays there. This means the job was two things. Wonderful for some families, these were the once-in-a-lifetime trips, and you were the person helping them to get the holiday they wanted. The other side was pure heck. If the holiday went to crap, you know full well it's somehow our fault. We had all sorts of people calling, screaming, threatening us, etc. I had a good track record, often closing sizable packages, and always went a little further, sorting out some balloons in the rooms for little Timmy's birthday, notifying the park to add Tom's birthday alongside the other kids to celebrate his special 45th. You know, random acts of kindness. I was often told by management to remember to stay in my lane, and while it was nice, I should be on the next call, not emailing the hotel to arrange the unpaid-for bits and bobs. Now, one day a family called me, and I could tell immediately they were posh. They were flying in and were looking for our top options, top hotel, unlimited fast-track tickets, the whole lot. I went in immediately and suggested one of the on-site hotels, asking what favorite characters the kids going had, etc. However, the woman booking heard wonderful things about this alternative hotel. We're talking 5-star. Head chef won an award for cooking a pigeon so well, other pigeons would offer themselves to be next. All fine, sorted it all out. Booking came to $12,000. Threw my discount on there, pulled all the bells and whistles out. Boss comes over, raving. What a deal! What a close! I'll go tell my boss. Wonders off. Hours later, the family called back. Lady had since Googled the on-site hotel and was stunned at how wonderful it was. As it was for her granddaughter, could she be a pain and rebook there? Yes, absolutely. I have to cancel the old booking first. The refund can take the usual however many days, and the second booking made immediately. She says fine, went through, and red alert. Her American Express is stalled as two $12,000 shots in a short space caused some issues. I checked our system and found out it was us blocking it, not her, and had to get a manager to resolve it. I explain I can't do anything right now to finalize it, but let me call in a favor. I call into the hotel and explain everything. Could they do me a favor and hold the rooms until we get it all sorted out? Yes. You want your usual balloons, BS? Their words. Yes. Go on then. I log everything in our system, all the conversations and who I spoke to. I go ask my manager, and she's fuming because she's been bragging on how she's doing well because I closed this sale and suddenly asking her to refund the amount. Yeah, but it's to book it again. The second booking was actually more, and we'd end up still better off, but she wobbled about it. Tells me she will do it, but it's end of my shift, so I need to go home. I beg her to call the family she said she would. 2 days after my next shift, I sit down and see that my weekly total is missing the $12,000, but not replaced with the $15,000. I go ask my manager what's happened. Did she speak to them? No, they didn't answer. They'll call back. I asked if I could call them myself. No, get back on the phone. This is not your job. Your job is to answer the phones. I protested. This could be $15,000 we lose. We should chase it. None of your extra BS this time. Go get on the phones. I'm a little ticked off, but there's nothing I can do. So I decide the smart thing to do is log everything new in our system, including what my manager told me, and just answer the phones. 2 days pass and I get a phone call from the family asking for me to get patched over. They were ready to pay again. Amazing, let's do it. I call the hotel, sort out the package, and all ready to go. The red alert comes up again. My manager hadn't greenlit the payment. However, as the refund had been processed, it was just sat in pending. All my manager had to do was hit a button and the family would get the confirmation email. I spoke to my manager. She tells me to buzz off and to stop bothering her over this. I mark all that in the account on the system and promptly have a week off. I come back in. It's a Sunday night, slowest shift of the week. Usually people phoning to tweak a booking, ask what time the park opens, etc. But then one phone call came in to a newbie. The screamers are easier to deal with. They come in hot and you just play kind and calm. They look deranged, and as all calls are recorded, if it needs escalating, you look sane. It's the calm, collected complaints which are the scariest. And this family's grandma? She's definitely done some crazy things. The poor newbie got this call and we knew immediately something was up. He nervously asked if I was on a call and if he could patch them over. Sure thing. It's the grandma and she's not happy. Calm, but not happy. They had flown in at the park's hotel, but as no payment had been received, they weren't allowed to check in. I checked the booking. My manager never processed. They were sat in the lobby, 4 kids, 2 sets of parents, and grandma, and nowhere to stay. I called my manager. It was 9 p.m. at night at that point, and she didn't answer. Tried 3 more times and got an email saying it's her night off, don't bother her. Another one logged in the system. I actually then called the hotel front desk, explained I was balloon BS and needed help. The staff there knew me and gave me a break, but they didn't have the power. The hotel manager did. Got patched to him, explained everything, and he went, okay, here's the deal. We can put the family in the rooms, but we need to charge someone the room. I'm going to charge the company you work for, and you guys can hatch it out later. This is the first piece of malicious compliance I felt guilty about. I had done everything by the book, and there was this family stuck stranded in the lobby, and charging the company for the 2 was just a no-no. Like, lose your job, have them come after you for the money type no-no. So I tried calling every contact I had, but it was 11 or 12 p.m. at night at this point, and no one was answering. So I said forget it. I called the hotel back and told them to do it, knowing full well I'd be job hunting the next day. Logged it and left. Wasn't due in till 10 a.m., but got a call 7:30 telling me I needed to be there by 8. I arrive, get frog marched into the meeting room with 3 levels of bosses in front of me, my manager, her manager, and his manager. They also had a single printout with an invoice for $15,000 from the hotel in my name. They went in on me, 20 minutes of yelling, shouting, 1 left to get HR in for an immediate dismissal. HR arrived and only asked 1 question. Can you justify why you comped a $15,000 package? The only thing I could think to say was, check the logs. My manager looked thunderstruck. Her boss looked perplexed, and his boss just looked at my boss with a scowl, and all 3 told me to wait there while they left and HR sat with me. 10 minutes later, I was told to take the day leave, and when I came back the next day, my manager was on the phones like the rest of us, and I was told I'd be reporting to her boss alongside the wider team. Learned 2 things. Do things nice, and people do nice things for you. Also, log everything, emails and conversations if you ever feel it wasn't right. Make a note and timestamp it for the love of God. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.